Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Google Camp 2021. We're going to go ahead and get started with our presenter, Brian Lopez, for today's session called Digital Tools for Creativity with English Language Learners. Brian, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you now. And Brian, you're muted.
Hello, thank you for coming to my workshop. Let's try this again. Before I get started, I want to say thank you for actually coming. I know it's summer or somewhere there, and you're here because you want to be here, and that's the best part. I'm here because I want to be here, and I want to share what I have to know with all of you. So with that in mind, I will put a bit.ly in the chat if you want to follow along. I will explain that in a sec, and I'm going to wait like one more minute to see who pops in. So while you're waiting, please go ahead and check out that bit.ly. I have my presentation on there. Let's see. Please give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you. So the way this works is, okay, so while you wait, this is the bit.ly. I also put it into the chat, and I don't know if my screen is blocking here, but we'll go like this. So I'm going to be able to not see you, but this is recorded. So my name is Brian Lopez, and our bit.ly's here. It's in the chat. This is my social media handle. Like I said, I'm very excited to be here, and I will begin now. I will take questions throughout this presentation. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and wait till then. If you can't wait, then you can just go ahead and blurb it out. I'm not used to the chat box because the students that I work with don't really speak English, and I want them to, and I encourage the use of the English language. So I apologize if I'm not checking the chat box as much, but I do want to answer your questions. So I will have designated stopping points to ask for questions. Please feel free to ask questions throughout this session. So this is called Digital Tools for Creativity with English Language Learners. I know it's a really big title, but it's really cool. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is the sign language interpreter. Can we turn off the spotlights because it makes it really hard for the deaf participant to be able to see the interpreter?
I'm not in charge of the spotlight. Sorry about that.
I think they got it.
Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get the other one.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
That was a great question because we all need to be able to understand.
And then Anita is also asking, I also need to be able to pin because I can't pin the interpreters.
Oh, okay. Who's going to help me with that? Because I don't know how to.
Which interpreter are we taking, is taking over right now? Is it Jake?
Jessica?
Jessica? Okay.
But if it's spotlighted, she can't make the screen large enough to be able to see. She needs to be able to just pin us. We've been having a hard time with it today.
Let me remove the spotlight off of you.
He went back up to the border. Moses. Dennis went back looking for you. Okay.
Okay, just let me know when you guys are ready and I'll jump right in.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, that was a great question. We want to make sure that we can all see this content. So my title is called Digital Tools for Creativity with English Language English Language Learners. This project was done with English language learners, and I have been told by special ed teachers that this has worked very well for them. So this is actually for everyone, but with the emphasis on English language learners, so that's what I teach. And with that, we'll go on to the next slide. So welcome. This project was completed by first grade ELL students. This project is a little bit old, but the tools that I use, those are priceless tools that they're very, very valuable. So with that, I will go on. And I decided to do this with first grade because I started with sixth grade and that was a little bit easy for them. So I challenged myself and my tech skills and I went all the way down to to first grade. And I'll explain I'll explain more about that in a second. My name is Brian Lopez. I just finished my fourth year and teaching ELD and intervention for the Rosemead School District. I graduated from Azusa Pacific with a master's in digital teaching and learning. My professional affiliations are that I am a CUE Los Angeles board member up until the year 2023. And I believe in getting a digital certification in all the tools that I use. So these are the tools that I currently use. I have certifications in all of them. I was challenged by my own students to go ahead and to try to collect all the badges I could. So these are the ones that I have. Career presentation. So this project was completed by first grade students. I do have a media release, but because this is recorded, I don't know what the gray area is on that. So to keep the project safe and the students safe, I decided to put a happy face on all of them because they were happy for this entire career presentation. And like I said, this was completed by first grade students. The tools that I use, the most important tool, so this was back in the classroom pre-COVID. I have a small Chromebook cart, and in my cart, every student in my class has a one-to-one device, which all of that will change when we go back to school in the fall. The tools I used Flipgrid, Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Classroom, and Epic Books. My project is based on a series of routines that took over a series of a couple of months for this to happen. So this sounds great, and it didn't happen all in one day. This happened over a period of time. But I taught one routine at a time, and with that, I had 30 minutes a day. I teach in grades kindergarten through 6, like 10 to 15 students per group at 30 minutes a day. So I service around 80 students a day, and this was done with first grade students. So in addition to ELA content and all the other content that I taught, I use educational technology as a bridge and as a scaffold to engage students in their learning, and this project is a result of that. The very first thing that is vital to the success of this project was every student having a one-to-one device. And with that, every student has a composition book. They have their own. As you can see here, but the composition book is for student number 1. On the back of their book, they have their student login and their student password. So they don't really need me because this is the very first routine that I showed them is how to log in by themselves. Now, all of these composition books were kept on a shelf. The students, and they all knew where to go get them and to sign in and do that all by themselves. And so this is key. And in addition with this, student 1 sat in seat 1 at table 1 with Chromebook 1. So like having a number system assigned to each student was a very valuable classroom management and organizational tool for me and for the students. Google Classroom. In my classroom, I use Google Classroom for the purpose of our presentation. I use Google Docs, and then I put in all of the links into that Google Doc that I would have had posted in Google Classroom. So I can't really simulate Google Classroom because there's lots of criteria there, but I can simulate it using Google Docs, and all of those hyperlinks would have been put inside of my Google Classroom. And the best part about Google Classroom is once I train them how to log in and sign in, then I train them how to get to Google Classroom. And once they were there, they didn't have to type anything. All they needed to do was click. And when you're learning a language, that's very important to get them to the exact site, to the exact page that you want them to get to. So after we logged in, went to Google Classroom, then I taught them how to use Flipgrid. The very cool thing about the very exciting part about Flipgrid is that you can click, speak, and record whatever content that you have is there. And one of the features that Flipgrid has is you can export directly to Google Classroom through them. So after we mastered that, we went on to add one more layer, and this is Epic Books for Kids. And for Epic Books for Kids, I showed them how to use it, how to find books, and how to find books with the read to me title, because they couldn't all read, but they could all click and they could all actually hear a story that was being read to them. And as you can see there, I am an Epic ambassador. My placeholder is there. And I will go on to a couple more things. I believe on the Epic Books link, it's number 3, there is an article from when I just recently got Epic Master Teacher of the Year. So it's a very good article. I encourage you to go to it and just read about my school year experience using Epic Books. It's also a very valuable resource. From that, I'm going to dive into to the whole content of my presentation. But before I go there, are there any questions up until this point? I'll check the chat, and then I will put in the bit.ly one more time in case you came a little bit late, which is totally cool because I know there's traffic and heat and it's fantastic, right? Okay, with that in mind, I don't hear any questions, so I will go on to the next part, and then I will pause again just like this. Because this is recorded, you can also go back later and you can see what I did and probably learn that way as well. So the whole purpose of this project was to find out what students wanted to be when they grew up. That was my driving question. And the way this project is set up, it's like, it's a what do I want to be when I grow up project, but you were going to use all these tools to get to make that project a reality. So here we go. I see a question. Let's see. We'll go on. Okay, so the very first thing where we started is I had my students use Google Sheets. So they didn't have to master Google Sheets. They just had to know how to use Google Sheets. So with that in mind, they had to type in Google Sheets. And so like student 1 went to box 1. And student 2, they went to box 2, student 3 to box 3, and so forth and so on. This way, each person had a box and each person knew where to go. And so this is the same thing, like student 1 has their journal 1, and they sit in seat 1. It all ties back to having a strong and central number system for your students. So what I did here, I put the link for this Google Sheet inside of Google Classroom. Then we got there, and then I had them type their name and type in their career choice. Now, as you can see, some of their spelling is not spelled right, but I don't emphasize correct spelling. I emphasize the correct use of sounds. So for student 1A, they put soccer, and to me, they did a fantastic job there because they spelled soccer using their sounds, and then so forth and so on, all the way down. When I was done with this, and I had them put in all of their answers, I went ahead and locked this Google Sheet, and then I put in the correct spelling afterwards. And with that in mind, we go on to our next slide. So now, since this is a hands-on workshop, if you have the capacity, please go ahead and click on link number 4 in the bit.ly, and I will join you there. So this is link. So if this is the public one here, this is where you have all of your cool links. Oh, this is 110. And so so this is link number 4. It should take you here. So if you are following along now, that is fantastic. Now
Excuse me, Brian.
talk to you. Yes.
We just see your slides. Are you showing the Google form?
I am showing, yes. Should I share? Let me re-share this to make sure we're all there. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, no, this is good. Let's see. Can you see this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, that's fantastic because I could talk on forever and then you're like, what are you doing? I can't see. So if you can please go to the bit.ly and click on number 4. If you click on this link for the Sheets demo, it will take you here. And this is the exact same way that I did it with my kids inside the classroom, except this was on this was projected on my smartboard. So we could all do this in real time. So if you want, somebody pick box 1, somebody pick box 2, and just keep a hold of your number and type in your name, type in your career, like what you want to be when you grow up. Oh, hey buddy. And then as far as the teacher spelling, this is where I actually would go back and lock the sheet afterwards, because I don't want the kids to be so focused on their spelling that they forget that this is supposed to be fun and we're supposed to learn. And it's, yeah. So if I take away that one, the one layer of stress, this usually works and it's good. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes here so I can see who pops in. And so when I first show this to my students, they all freak out because they've never seen themselves like on a screen and they get to see their name. So this adds a whole element of fun. And it's really cool until someone erases the whole thing, which, and then I try not to get mad. And then we just do it again and again and again until it's a until it's a routine that we all know. So this is my Google Sheets routine. And if I want to do anything past this, I just use this same exact routine. And this works very well.
What goes in under teacher spelling?
So for teacher spelling, what I would do, I would lock this after my students have typed in their answers, so I could show them the correct spelling. I'm not sure if that answered the question.
No, that I got it now.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't want you to focus so much on spelling the actual word. I want you to try the sounds. And once you try your best, then I'll go ahead and show you how to spell it correctly if you wish to learn how to spell it correctly, because that does come in handy on the next part of my presentation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, these are all different tools that I use at different times, and they were all taught at different times, but they're all used in conjunction with the same project. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here. Thank you for my friends here that participated. That makes me excited because I get to see some type of interaction, and that's good. And if you're not participating now, you can go ahead and participate later as well. That is fine. So I'm going to go back to my amazing presentation. I'm going to go here. Okay. So that was the career selection, trying to select a career. So for us as teachers, we would click the link, but for the students, they would click the link in Google Classroom, and it would take you right there. So that also takes a couple of things. So for an example lesson, I will pick the lesson of a police officer. On the left-hand side, I found a video on being a Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, but Los Angeles Sheriff's Department sheriff, right? You want to be a deputy sheriff, and I'll play this quick bit of the video.
Hi, I'm Deputy Torrance.
Hi,
I'm Deputy Del Deal.
You guys can hear
Today we're
that?
going to walk you through what a test day consists of. We're going to guide you through it step by step and take you to each station so you know exactly what to expect. Keep in mind that on the test day, you're going to have 2 portions. It's going to be a written exam and a physical exam.
Hey guys, the test can be somewhat long, so make sure you pay attention to the instructions and listen to your proctors.
So the cool part about this video was that it was done by actual sheriff's officers. But when the students heard test, they were like, wait, why is there a test? Like, I want to be a police officer. Like, I don't want to take a test. And I said, well, you have to take a test because we need to see if you know enough so that you can be a police officer, or to see what you need to learn so that you can be a police officer. And before I could even say anything, someone said, well, you want the best people to be police officers, so you have to take a test. And I said, well, that makes a lot of sense. You want the best, right? And then, so as we watched this on the board, I took notes, and then the students copied those, the students copied those notes down onto their composition book. And then as they were doing that, I also took notes on Google Docs. I did not have them use Google Docs, but I wanted them to be exposed to Google Docs. And that came in handy when I was doing a different presentation where a student was absent and they had questions, and then someone said, Mr. Lopez, go to your Google Doc and check on doctor. And I was like, oh, you're right. I'm like, we can use our notes because they are there. And I was able to show them the doctor video because I had put the link, and the kids they had memorized this the whole process. So it was fantastic. So that was the police officer video. And so to add to that, I had the students to see if they could research their career topic using Epic Books. So the one student, he wanted to be a police car, and that's just how I work. They wanted to be a police car. So I said, well, it's kind of hard to be a police car. So they showed me where on Epic Books they found police car. And I said, oh, well, and I said, well, Officer Bob drives a police car. So this is, and then this student could not read, but they could see the pictures and they could hear the story from Epic Books. Let me see if I can press play.
Officer Bob hears, on my way, he says.
So with the ability for the student to find their own book and to be able to click on the read to me function, they were able to learn about being a police officer using Epic Books on their own, which was fantastic. All of that with the fact that they can't really read themselves. So technology really helped them learn without having to know everything there is to know about reading.
Officer Bob.
So these are all student responses that we had in our student journals. We had police officer lesson, a basketball player lesson, a soccer player lesson, a doctor lesson, an artist lesson, and I was able to double up on the basketball player because it's just one lesson for both, and it was really good. And the one thing that I found about this is that the students figured out what the pattern was. Like, today is police officer day, tomorrow is basketball player day. So when like Friday came, they were like, oh yes, like I can't wait until Friday because Friday is my day. And I was like, what do you mean it's your day? And then they're like, well, on Friday we're going to talk about being a doctor. And I was like, you're right. So not only did this spotlight their own interest, this made them excited, and they wanted to come to class. They wanted to learn, they wanted to write, and they wanted to speak, which was all. It's all fantastic when you are trying to learn how to speak English. From there, so these are all the notes that I took, and I put all the exact links that I used. And like I said earlier, when somebody was absent, I was able to use the actual video because I had the notes there. And it helped me reinforce the lesson by having the students tell each other where to go. So this was really cool. With that, I'm going to pause right there. Are there any questions about Google Docs and career selection? I'm going to check the link here. Yes, I like the one thing that I struggled with was using tech only, but I think the way that I set this up, you use non-tech, which is paper and pencil, to learn the basics, and then you show them how you can transition to a digital only format. So you kind of teach them both, and I think that is the best of both worlds, especially when you're in first grade. You are still trying to develop those fine motor skills, which is fantastic, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit more. With that, I would jump into my Google Slides lesson. So like talked about Google Sheets, you don't have to master Google Sheets in order to use Google Sheets. So you don't have to know how to use Google Slides. Like you don't have to learn everything about Google Slides in order to use Google Slides, because you can learn as you go. So with that, we go into the next part. So using Google Slides, I created this by myself. I created it from scratch using a blank template, and I custom made this to fit the needs of my students, and I've been using it ever since. My current version does not look anything like this, but we all start somewhere. And the best way I can describe this is like it's the ultimate digital graphic, organizer for kids. And I'll explain that in a second. So with that, if you can please click on link number 5 in your bit.ly. And if you were a student inside my classroom, I would say click on the link inside of Google Classroom. So with that, we jump out and we go back to this one. You go to the bit.ly, you click on link number 5, and that's right here. And like I said, if you are student number 1, you go to table number 1. If you're in student number 2, go to table number 2, student number 3, and so forth and so on. Once you click on your table number, which is on the left-hand side, please type your name inside box number 4. So I'll model it for you. I'm going to be student number 10, and I will put my name in. So I am now in table 10, and now I am in box number 4, and I'll just put Mr. Lopez. And the exact vocabulary that I am using now, like table number 10, table number 9, that is exactly what I use inside the classroom, so that students know explicitly which table is theirs and explicitly which box they are currently working in. So like I said, this is very, it's very explicit and very direct. Now, this did take me a long time to explain and to teach, but once I did it, we could apply this to almost anything else we did during that school year. So if everybody just picks a box, thank you, Leticia. Thank you. I cannot pronounce this amazing name, and I don't want to mess it up. But the student in table number 4, fantastic. Kiana. Okay, thank you. That's fantastic.
I don't know if you saw, but you do have a question in the chat. I think it showed up right when you stopped taking questions.
All right, let's take more questions. It says, what speaking did they do? We are encouraging to have you speaking 50% of the time in ELL. So I'll get to the speaking part in just a second. So this was all built up to an, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain that. This is all built up to an oral presentation. But as we were going there, we did speaking every day. Like we talked about whichever lesson we were on. We talked about what we were doing, and it was the constant use of the English language, but in a conversational way. And then that conversation turned into academics. So we're going back to our table here. So in box number 1 on your table, could you please put in what you wanted to be when you grow up? So box 1, if you want to be a principal, as I was told that I have to be based on my students, because that's what comes after being a teacher. And then in box number 2, you type you would type in from your notes what you got. So let's just say principals work very hard. So that would be a sentence or something that I took from my notes from the principal lesson. I'm just making this up as I go along, but principals do work very hard. So then I would say, okay, we start with box 4, because box 4, you could put your name. So if somebody was accidentally inside your table, they would know that that was not their table, because your name is in box number 4, and then we would go from there. So we have an astronaut, excellent. We have an ice cream salesperson. That's pretty awesome. So then here I could see everybody working, and I'll show you one more trick after we're done with this. So I taught box 1, box 2, box 4. I taught them all out of order, but that helps because this will come again into play later. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I will slow down. And like I said, this is recorded. You can always go back to it. Just trying to see my time and make sure I get through everything that I need to get through. So box number 3, I taught separately on a separate day because this involves a series of multiple steps, and I wanted to make sure that we had mastered it before we moved on. So what I would do here is I would teach them that if we click on the box up here, where it has a picture of a mountain, and they would click on camera and they could take a picture of themselves. So that was one lesson. And the second lesson would be to search the web, right? So they would search the web. Now here, if they typed in principal wrong on the Google sheet, then if they copied the correct spelling, they could put it correctly here. And they all learned that like one at a time. And they had to learn that spelling does matter. Pick a principal here. I like this photo just because it's for everyone. So then I had to pick up. So once we got here, I showed them the whole idea of having to resize a photo, and that we resize a photo from the corner. And as I'm talking about this, I'm using the word resize, and that word will come into play later because there will be a connection made. So as all of this is going on, this is all on the smartboard or it's projected onto your wall. You could keep track of everything that's going on in real time at the same time. And if you click down here, you could see everybody working together. And then you could see who needs help, who's not there, who got stuck, or who's doing a great job. And so this was in person. So if Leticia was done, I would have her go help somebody else that needed help. But now with our new restrictions, maybe they can talk from far away, and once again, they would still have to use their command of the English language to be able to help them, because I did not allow them to touch each other's computers at that point, because I wanted to emphasize the use of the English language. So they would say, oh, for box 1, you have to type in this. And so they would exchange the dialogue without knowing that they were learning it in the first place, which was having a conversation. So this is the Google Slides part. And this is the part where it's like the ultimate graphic organizer, because you could then show them how to do many different things with this graphic organizer, which is really, really cool and really powerful. And like I said, they don't have to know how to use Google Slides. They just have to know to go to their table and then to go to where they need to go. And for example, if I was typing here and I accidentally erased this box, I would have a student say, Mr. Lopez, I'm table 9. I need help with box 4. Or if they couldn't speak, they would raise their hand, and then they would point to the box, and I could help them with their text box via remote, and they would just be like mind blown because all this was there. And like I said, I made this from scratch. All the text boxes can be replaced. The one thing that cannot be changed here is the background and all those boxes that I made. But the text box could be moved around and whatnot by a student. So this is my Google Slides portion, and with that, I will move on. Thank you for my participants, and all of you are fantastic. So we're gonna go here to the next one. So from that, we move on to student work. So this is where I had paper meet their digital creation. So the one thing that the students learned was that on the right-hand side, when they were typing into the Google slide for box 2, is like, why is there a red line? And they quickly learned that, well, a red line means I spelled it wrong. But I still did not emphasize the use of wrong spelling, because the point of this is to learn the English language, not to learn how to spell everything correctly in the English language. As long as we use sounds, then that was fantastic for me. On the left is what they had in their journal, and on the right is what they produced as a digital composition. This is for my doctor. And then I had one student that wanted to be an artist. And on the right, you can see that we just did not know our keyboarding skills, but they were learning keyboarding skills at that time. And when you're in first grade and you're trying to find all of those fantastic words, it's a little bit hard to find all those keys on a keyboard. So this was exposing them all to having keyboarding skills. And as you can see, for number one on their paper, they did not put any spaces. So for number one on their Google Slides, they just copied it and they did not put any spaces at all. So having a finger space is a very valuable tool, and that is a whole conversation that we talked about as we were showing as I was showing the Google Slides on the board. Are there any questions about Google Slides? Okay. I'll wait a couple seconds in case it comes in a little bit. Okay. So with all of that, now we're going to put everything together. So the whole point of this was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And now as a first grader, that you can just say it and go on with it. But in school, we have to learn about it because it's fun. And not only do you learn about what you want to learn about, you also learn about what other students want and are interested in as well. So ready, set, go. To complete this process, I use multiple Chromebooks. I want to say 3 Chromebooks, at least 3. One Chromebook was to project the Google slide on the smartboard. The student would go up, they would find their Google slide, and then the Chromebook that's in front of them would be a Chromebook that I would have designated for them to record their own Flipgrid video of their presentation by themselves. And then a little bit behind that Chromebook was a second Chromebook with their Google Slides so that they can see what they were talking about. And one of the cool things about this entire project was that the student you see here said, well, Mr. Lopez, I only wrote down like a word. Do I just say the word or can I say more? I said, oh, no. I'm like, you can say as much as you want, but those words are to help guide you. So, and then he said, oh, so I could talk about more. I said, yes, but you have to talk about what you wrote first. So that encouragement alone made him so happy, and he was just happy the whole time that he talked. He was happy before, during, and after this whole experience. So this is my student presentation, and like I said, I have the student's face covered because this is recorded, and this is for their safety and for my safety as well. So this is the actual video that he recorded by himself on Flipgrid.
Hello, my name is Alfonso, and I want to be a soccer player when I grow up. And Leo Messi works for Barcelona, and he scored goals, and I think being a soccer player is cool.
So to me, this is a huge win. Having a first grade EL student do what a sixth grader or a fifth grader or any other kind of grader could do, because he did everything that was required, and he used the sounds, he used the skills, he paid attention, he learned, and he was happy. So this is a big, huge win, and I'm very excited about this one individual student. This is another student that I have, and he was really amazed by the doctor video. So I'll let him tell you all about it.
Hello, my name is Albert. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. Doctor can help. The doctor help. Nurse help and be sicker. I want to be a doctor.
So the one cool thing about this is that they are able to read their own writing for this presentation. They are able to do this all independent of me, and that is fantastic. Now, my next student, I'll explain after I show you.
Hello, I'm Sasha.
So this student, one is very shy, and two does not speak any type of English, but they were still able to write everything down. They were still able to participate in every single part of this career presentation, up until the point where they were even able to record themselves all by themselves and to do all of this on their own, which to me, that was a fantastic win, because not only did they participate, but they also learned. Now, they didn't learn, like, say, explicit English language, but they learned how to use technology, and I'll show you that in a second. Are there any questions about the presentation? I have a couple of minutes left. Okay, so with that in mind, I took the oral presentation part of this whole experience, and I turned it into epic book reviews to show oral presentations and to show student growth. So here's our first student that we had, the one that wanted to be a soccer player, and now let's see how far he's gone.
Hello, my name is Alfonso, and people celebrate Thanksgiving. We celebrate Thanksgiving on the fourth Thursday. Thanksgiving every week. We can celebrate Thanksgiving.
So this is Thanksgiving. The project from earlier was like in March. So this was like from following the summer and then all the way back. And they were still able to follow the same tech routines that they had learned. They were able to write in their paper graphic organizer by themselves and to read what they had written down by themselves. And this is my other student, the one that was shy and did not speak. Let's see how much they have grown.
Hello, my name is Elsa.
So with that, I don't know if you heard, but I got 3 sentences and not just one, and they were able to read whatever they wrote or to formulate a sentence based on what they had on their piece of paper in respect to Thanksgiving. So that is a huge win. It shows the growth. It shows technology helping them achieve success. And with that, these are my behind the scenes photos. We worked hard every day. And I don't know if this is how it's going to look like in the fall, but we're gonna try to tackle this on again and to spread this with everyone else. So as a recap, I only had 30 minutes a day. I would have them practice their entrance ticket on Flipgrid. Then we would have our various lessons. We would use tools. We would use this. We would use that. And then we had an exit ticket at the end of every day. So this is fantastic. If you would like to dive any deeper with Flipgrid, you can click on link number 6 inside your bit.ly or link number 7. And thank you very much for coming to this conference. If there are any questions, I will more than happily take questions right now.